What if the one who holds the universe in his hands chose not to defend himself? What if silence was stronger than any shout in the face of cruelty? And what if the moment of deepest humiliation became the doorway to the greatest redemption? In a dim and heavy atmosphere, after the long night of arrest, Jesus is led away. Not as a king escorted by honor, but as a prisoner surrounded by hostility. The tension is thick, not only in the air but in the hearts of those watching. Everything feels like it has turned upside down. The innocent is treated as guilty, and those entrusted with justice are now agents of mockery. The guards gather around him. There is no rush in their actions, no fear of consequence. They are confident in their power, believing that the one before them has no voice that matters anymore. In their minds, he is just another condemned man, someone who can be ridiculed without resistance. Then it begins. They blindfold him, a deliberate act meant to strip away dignity, to make him vulnerable in the most human sense. The world becomes dark for him, yet he does not resist. He does not pull away. He does not call down judgment. Instead, he remains still. And in that stillness, the mocking starts to rise. They strike him, not as justice demands, but as cruelty allows. Each blow is followed by laughter, each insult layered with contempt. They challenge him, as if trying to force a reaction from silence itself. Prophesy, they say. Who hit you? Their voices are sharp with ridicule, as though truth itself has been blindfolded along with him. It is not just physical suffering being inflicted. It is an attempt to erase identity, to reduce the Son of God to something powerless in their eyes. They treat him as if he cannot see, cannot hear, cannot know. Yet even in this moment, the irony is overwhelming. He sees everything. He knows every heart standing around him. He understands every intention behind every strike. And still, he does not respond with violence. There is something deeply unsettling about this moment. The world often expects power to defend itself, to retaliate, to prove its worth through force. But here, divine strength expresses itself differently. It is not the absence of power, but the restraint of it. A strength so complete that it does not need to prove itself through destruction. The guards continue. Their mockery grows bolder. The more he remains silent, the more they feel justified in their actions. Human nature often fills silence with its own assumptions. When there is no resistance, cruelty sometimes assumes permission. But what they do not understand is that this silence is not weakness, it is purpose. Every insult spoken in that room echoes into a greater story that none of them can yet comprehend. Every strike against him is absorbed into a plan far larger than their momentary satisfaction. They think they are in control. They think history is being shaped by their hands. But they are only participants in something far beyond their understanding. In the midst of humiliation, something sacred is unfolding. This is not the collapse of divine authority. It is its quietest expression. The prophecy had spoken of suffering long before this moment arrived. The path had already been marked with intention, not accident. And now, in this dark room filled with laughter and cruelty, those words are quietly being fulfilled. The guards do not realize that the one they are mocking is the very one who formed them. The breath they use to speak insults is sustained by the one they are striking. It is a paradox that reveals how blindness can exist even in the presence of truth. There is a weight in this scene that goes beyond physical pain. It is the weight of rejection. To be misunderstood is painful, but to be deliberately humiliated by those you came to save carries a different kind of sorrow. Yet even that sorrow is not returned with hatred. Instead, there is mercy woven into silence. The room is filled with voices, but heaven is listening differently. What sounds like victory for the guards is actually the unfolding of surrender. Not defeat, but chosen surrender. A surrender that will reshape the meaning of power forever. In this moment, Jesus does not call for angels. He does not demand escape. He does not expose every injustice in a sudden display of force. Because the goal was never to avoid suffering at all costs. The goal was to walk through it with purpose intact. The mocking continues until it feels almost routine to those involved. That is perhaps the most sobering part. When cruelty becomes routine, it stops feeling like cruelty to those who commit it. It becomes entertainment, distraction, even amusement. Yet heaven does not forget a single moment. There is a quiet contrast unfolding between two realities. On one side, human arrogance expressing itself through ridicule. On the other, divine patience holding back infinite power. One is loud and chaotic, the other is silent and steady, and somewhere in that contrast, the truth of redemption is taking shape. It is easy to overlook what silence means in such a moment. Silence is often misunderstood as absence, but here silence is presence under control. It is restraint that carries authority. It is love refusing to abandon purpose even when misunderstood. The guards cannot see it, but this moment is not about them. It is about what is being accomplished through endurance. The very act of not retaliating becomes part of the message. A message that strength is not always proven through dominance, but sometimes through restraint. And still, the strikes land. The laughter continues. The questions meant to shame him continue to echo in the room. Yet none of it changes who he is. Identity is not lost because others fail to recognize it. As the scene unfolds, there is a quiet fulfillment of something deeper than human understanding. The suffering is real, but it is not meaningless. It is not random. It is not forgotten. Every insult is seen, every blow is known. Every moment is held within a purpose that stretches beyond that room, beyond that night, beyond that generation. And even in the darkness of human cruelty, a different kind of light is being prepared. Not a light that prevents suffering, but one that redeems it. The guards eventually move on, but the impact of what has taken place remains far beyond their awareness. They leave behind a moment that appears insignificant to them, yet carries eternal weight in the story of salvation. What they intended as humiliation becomes in time a revelation of love that cannot be erased, because the one they mocked did not remain in silence forever, and the silence they misread as defeat becomes the foundation of victory over sin, suffering, and death itself. In that hidden exchange between cruelty and restraint, something unbreakable was revealed. That true authority does not always respond to violence with violence. Sometimes it responds with purpose so deep that even suffering cannot interrupt it. And so the scene closes not with triumph for the guards, but with a deeper truth quietly established in history. The one who was mocked was never truly powerless. And the silence they thought they understood was actually carrying the weight of redemption for the entire world. Thank you for watching. If this message spoke to you, take a moment to like, follow the channel, and share this video so others can reflect on it as well.